Hello, everyone. Welcome to 360 Degrees Excellence, where we believe everyone can achieve all-round success. Today, I'm going to be having a conversation with Professor Eric Amoson, and we're going to be talking about diet and exercise in management of obesity and overweight. I recently came across, a stat that shows the staggering cost of obesity globally. About 2 billion people are affected by obesity globally every year, and about 4 million deaths are recorded every year as a result of obesity. Since 1975, the prevalence has increased by 300%. Imagine when we had a lot of people that are also living with overweight. You might be talking about 50% of the population. You have to also think about the cost of obesity and overweight on, health, on public health. A lot of people know what to do, what we are going to be talking about today, diet and exercise, but many people don't do it. Recently, I shared on Food Safety Africa platform about what can happen when people consume a lot of sweetened beverage, sugar sweetened beverage, that you can have problem of tooth decay, you can have problem of heart issues, and there's also a problem of other problems like metabolic disorder like diabetes. Somebody replied that it's not new, but I replied to that person that, look, it may not be new, and it's true it's not new, but we need to keep on reminding ourselves, because a lot of people know what to do, but they don't do it. So what we are talking about today is very, very important. We want to talk about diet and exercise. And I have my very good friend, my colleague, Professor Amoson, that I know that is walking the talk, regarding, exercise and diet. And it's going to be open. He's also an expert, he's a food scientist. So without wasting time, I'll start by asking him to tell us about himself. So Prof, we want to know more about you. Who is Professor Eric Amoson?
Thank you, Professor Tosi, and thanks for inviting me to your platform. Hopefully, we are fighting a good cause because we need to try as much as possible to reduce the burden of non-communicable disease in our population. As you rightfully said, my name is Eric Amoson, and I'm an associate professor at the Durban University of Technology, and I'm a food scientist. Also, I'm very passionate when it comes to human nutrition because it's very important. We think that individual choices of food that we make may have a significant impact on our health. So, and we need to educate our population. Given that, I also have a nutrition education platform called NutriFeed, which aim is just to empower our people with basic nutrition knowledge and relevant scientific information to live an active, healthy, and productive life. So I hope that during this discussion, our population, our people will find something useful to make the right changes regarding their diet and health. Because through nutrition, we can reduce the burden of diseases in our population, mainly non-communicable diseases.
Thank you so much for that response. I know that, there was a time you were overweight, but today you are no more overweight. Recently I told you that you are looking more handsome. You have reduced your weight, and you now eat healthy, I'm even encouraged by your lifestyle now because I was the first person that started doing exercise, but now you do more than I do. You participated in a marathon, something like that. Yes. So I just want to ask you a question. How can people, maintain or before even maintaining, achieve a normal BMI? I know it's debatable. People will say BMI might not be the right way to really look at whether somebody is overweight or not, but that is what we use at the moment. How can someone maintain before maintaining achieve a normal BMI the most sustainable way that people can do that? Can you just tell us that?
Okay, thank you, Professor Tosi. Thanks for the compliment. I know you've been exercising quite well, and I caught up with you at some point, and I was so encouraged by you going out every morning and consistently for over a period of time, not just weeks, but years since I've known you. So that was an encouragement. But as you know, the nature of our profession require that you take some precaution or something about your food. You have to become very conscious. Imagine you go into various meetings, you eat a lot, you are in the hotel. So if you don't reach that level of consciousness of what is really important to you, you begin to pick up weight and what comes first. So that is what happened in my case. So I realized that with the nature of our job, I was exposed to food almost all the time. And I was picking up weight. I have a very big stomach. Those who know me can testify to that. And at some point, it wasn't going down well. So I reached that level of consciousness and awareness, which is important for everyone, that I have to do something about my health. I was overweight. And that is where the change actually started. Implementing some strategy that are based simply on nutrition. But remember, the knowledge is not enough. We all know, as you rightfully said at the beginning, that we all know what to do. We know what good nutrition is, what bad nutrition is. But the question is, why are we not following what we know? So knowledge in itself is not enough. You need that action. And that action part requires some level of discipline. And that's what I've learned, that's what I've implemented, and that's what has been helpful. Now coming to the issue of BMI, which is rightly the body mass index. Basically, that's just a simple calculation, taking into account the weight of a person in kilograms divided by the meter square of their height. And obtaining different value can give an indication of the nutritional status of the person. For instance, if you have a BMI of 18.6 and below, you are considered to be underweight. And between 18.5 and 24.9, you have the normal weight. And then over 30, then you begin to be classified as being overweight. But the most important thing that we need to touch on, it's not about the BMI. It has its own biasness in as much as it's very popular among consumers. What happened is that if somebody with a very big muscle mass will actually weigh more, is that person overweight or obese, or that excess of weight, is it linked to fat? Not necessarily. So the body mass index is complemented with other techniques or measuring techniques, such as your body fat mass. You can do the skin fold test. So there are other measurements that could be done to complement the body mass index. So what I'm saying in essence is that the body mass index in itself is not enough, though it's a good indicator to know where you are, but you also need to do other assessment to really know where you stand. But what we are referring to, let's leave body mass index aside and just talk about overweight and obesity. As you said at the beginning, it's a global epidemic. It's affecting all of us. And obesity, as you know, is a major risk factor for many metabolic diseases, including heart diseases, diabetes, and some type of cancer. And it leads to premature death in our society. Many people become morbid. You want to live a healthy life, not a life with disease. And as we know, the major contributing factor to obesity epidemic, the major contributing factor to obesity epidemic is our food choices. Although you mentioned exercise at the beginning, exercise just play a very minute role in as much as it's good to maintain a healthy weight. It has its own limitation. So main issue is your diet, the food choices that you make that will significantly influence your outcome. So now I know we can be confused out there to say, okay, what is good nutrition or what is bad nutrition? In terms of what I do, Professor Tosin, if you want us, we can go into the details of what is sustainable. You will see that many people have been in a special scheme diet, being ketogenic, Mediterranean diet, all sorts of diets are out there. But sustainability is key because it's a lifestyle. It's not just something that you will start and after 2 days or 1 week or 3 months, can you maintain that lifestyle? That is the first thing. And having come across, having reviewed all the nutrition scheme out there, the various diets, it's very simple. If you understand what nutrition means. You will not be following any fad diet if you understand what exactly is nutrition. So let's start with the basics. What is nutrition? Let's just follow a simple definition given by WHO. Is the intake of food considered in relation to your body dietary needs, which means if you eat, you have to derive all the necessary nutrients to prevent diseases, nourish your body, repair, maintain, and be healthy. Of course, WHO definition goes further to say that actually good nutrition is an adequate, well-balanced diet combined with regular physical activity. And this is the cornerstone of health. Now, when you talk about deriving nutrients, that's the key issue. You need to observe your own diet, what you eat. You can do a recall. Just ask yourself, what have you been eating in the past 3 days, 4 days, 1 week? And you will see, as we've done in some studies or with some people, that it's mainly protein, fat, and carbohydrate that is dominant. In some cases, you'll have protein and carbohydrates. The question is, where are the micronutrients which you derive from eating vegetables? Where are the fiber which you can obtain from eating legumes? So you could see that if you observe your own diet, you will see where you are not making up. Even the phytonutrients or phytochemicals, which are quite important, those ones are responsible for the different colors of fruits and vegetables. Just for the audience to understand, we won't go into the big words. Where are they? And we consume much less of those. So if you can reduce the intake of something that you are consuming in excess, which is mainly carbohydrate, and we can come to that, refined carbohydrates, to be specific, things made up of sugar and refined flours, and protein. No, you won't prevent diseases. You need the micronutrients. You find them abundantly in fruits and legumes, vegetables, and then the fiber. That's another big topic. And if you want, we can talk about it. But by actually following those, by trying to balance your diet, by incorporating fruits, vegetables, grain, legumes, definitely you will meet up with your fiber requirement, which plays another role in terms of maintaining our gut integrity and the human microbiome.
Thank you so much for your detailed response. You mentioned the case of determination. Everybody knows the right thing to do. Most people will start, to exercise or to eat healthy, and after 1 week they will go back, to what they used to do before. So determination is very, very important. One research interest that you also have is adding value to underutilized crop or indigenous crop. Can you just tell me some of those indigenous crop that you consume or that you eat, and just tell us the benefits or benefits of some of them?
Okay, thank you for that question. Of course, traditional food crops is one area that I'm researching actively. And it's not just my area, it's a priority area in the Department of Biotechnology and Food Technology, mainly with the food technology group. We decided to actually do something, conduct our research in this area to add value. But it has a premise. There are reasons to do that. If you look across Africa, we have great crops that are nutritionally okay when you look at the nutrient profile, but they are not in the mainstream of business. They are restricted or cultivated only by subsistence farmers. Yet, if you do a situational analysis, you will realize that our climate is changing. And that change in climate also results in a shortage in food supply. Population growth is also another factor. By 2050, our food production will have to double to cater for the growing population. Where are we going to get this food from? So, traditional foods or crops have a role to play. And that has been recognized also by Jose Graziano, the FOA director, the former FOA director. He said, if we must address our food and agricultural challenges, traditional or indigenous food have a role to play. We can use them in the area of nutrition security because some of them are drought tolerant. If you take millet, for instance, it's grown across Africa, they are drought tolerant. Legumes such as Bambara groundnuts, they are drought tolerant, good source of protein and starch. And when you use those food in the household, you can create what we call a dietary diversity. Because in households where they are actually malnourished, those food can play a role in addressing the nutritional imbalances. And when you move further on what we are doing, actually is adding value because you can create an economic activity around those traditional crops. And when you do that and they are commercialized, then the subsistence farmers will be economically and socially okay. It will contribute to the socio-economic development of the subsistence farmers and also food security in household. So that is why we chose to actually take that risky path of not working with conventional crops like maize that are already known or soya bean and move into traditional food crops.
Thank you so much for your response. I know that one of the indigenous crop you've been working with is amadumbe, taro. I remember when I was in Nigeria, we used to eat it many, many years ago, and it used to be called food for the poor. Recently, too, I've also been eating it because I buy it from maybe Spa, and I think such crops we should add it to our diet because we can get a lot of benefits from them. And also, you recently developed a product, a drink. Do you mind sharing with us, telling us what the product is and when do we expect to have it on the market?
Okay, thank you very much. For the drink, it's at a developmental stage, but It's made up of traditional food crops such as amadumbe, balanced with other well-known conventional food that the farmers know. But the reason why we went into drink as a vehicle to actually deliver some of these good nutrients, as you know, amadumbe, commonly known as taro, is a good source of fiber, mainly soluble fiber. You can see the slimy substance that come out when you cut your madumbe is actually good for the gut microbiome. So that is why we are transforming it into a drink, because I've come across many people who don't even know about the product, who don't like the taste, because that's one problem. In as much as the consumer wants to change, the consumer wants the food that is nutritious, healthy, because there's that consciousness there. The consumer does not want to compromise on taste and functionality. And that's one of the basic problems, the problem that we have. They don't want to compromise on texture. They want something nutritious, healthy, but that part needs to be fulfilled. If not, the product will not be acceptable. That's why we are coming up with a drink. But most importantly, what we've done, one of the success beside the drink, I'm sure the drink should be out early next year, but we've developed a multi-life, which is just a breakfast cereal. IP has been registered in the name of DUT for that kind of product, and is also made of madumbe. We believe that if we are able to scale it up and embark into marketing and commercialization, eventually it will have a significant impact on the local farmers in South Africa, especially those that we are working with around Jozidi, Mbumbulu, and even Mpangeni.
Thank you so much, for your response. A friend on Facebook sent a question. I want you to try your best to answer that question. She wrote, in our country where our land is flowing with milk and honey, why are a large proportion of our people still hungry? How can food technology be promoted to increase affordable food production and food preservation in our country? I mean, it's talking about maybe one African country.
Okay, your question is in twofold. The first one is why are we still malnourished where we have those food that can provide the necessary nutrient for us? Well, I can link it to poverty and socioeconomic status, because some farmers still have other obligations which must be met, and they need money to do that. So you will see, as we observed in some area in West Africa where we were working, I don't know which country you are addressing to, but in Africa, the problems are mainly common. We'll ask those things. They have children that are malnourished, yet they have milk and they are selling it. What they will tell you is that we have other needs which require money. Let's put it in a simple way. And that's why we sell those things instead of using it in the house. So basically, they are commercializing it to make money to address other urgent needs. But what we need to do in that area is actually to go through some education campaign, because the way we put it then was that imagine the cost if your child is to be hospitalized. So you will spend more. So we need to educate our people so that they can spare some to improve their nutritional system. But someone who needs money, there is no way. I think, in my opinion, it's mainly linked to economic status, poverty. You see, in our country, because most people living below $1 a day is just problematic. They need to sell the goods they have, even though they know it is needed to meet their nutritional need. They have to sell it because they think they have other imperatives that must be addressed. The second part has to do with food science, our food technology promotion. I can ask you a question, Tosi. Have you ever been at a place where you introduce yourself as a food scientist? What was really the response?
Some of them might think that it's cooking. They think that food science is about cooking. They don't really know what food science is all about, many people.
Yes, and I've received that answer. Each time I introduce myself, what you do is, I'm a food scientist. The next question is, so you can cook. So we use that. So if you take that into consideration, many people do not know what food science really entails, you know. So taking food science serious, getting people, even the young people, into food science, agriculture also generally subject is very okay, but it doesn't stop there. How do we take those food and add value to them and being able to commercialize it, stop exporting our raw material? And the third component is government needs to come in, assist our subsistence farmers.
Yeah.
That is my take on that.
Yeah, I really support you. You know, smallholder farmers empowerment is very, very important. They must be empowered, they must be supported. And it's not going to be done by government alone. We need a kind of collaborative effort, the private sector, the academia, the NGOs, international organizations must all come together to support, you know, smallholder farmers, because that's how we can really achieve food security. But government has a role to play. You know, we need infrastructure. You know, you also have the problem of food waste. You know, road networks in Africa must be fixed, all those things. And electricity, you know, if you're thinking of preservation and processing, how can you process your products if you have a problem of power failure? So all those factors must be considered before we can really put security in Africa. Thank you so much for all your responses. I just want to ask you for your final word.
Oh, thank you, Tosin. I remember at the beginning we need to talk about nutrition. What I will just remind our audience is that good nutrition is a well-balanced diet combined with regular physical activity. It's a cornerstone of health. We all must do that. And a simple example is just look at your food profile. And whole plant-based nutrition or diet is one of the ways that you could meet those micronutrients that are generally missing, the fiber that are generally missing in our food, because we are consuming highly processed foods, which are mainly made up of carbohydrate or refined carbohydrate, starch, and also protein. That's one aspect that most people like. And to bear in mind that poor nutrition can lead to impaired immunity, cause disease and premature death. So, and if we refer to one of my favorite quotes is from Hippocrates, as you know, is one of the most outstanding men in the history of human medicine. And he said, let food be your medicine and your medicine your food. So when food becomes your medicine, it means the type of food you eat, the amount that you consume from the various types, the frequency should be taken into account. There's a lot that we can unpack from nutrition, even from those three. Frequency, you can start talking about what your food type, fiber, all these are very important. So, and it further said, and I will leave our audience with that if you could give your body the right amount of nourishment and physical activity and exercise, that's how I call it, we will have found the safest way to health. I thank you.
I said it all. What is important for us to really implement what we know and eat all vegetables, eat all grain food, reduce consumption of animal protein, and exercise. At least 5 days in a week, do a physical activity for 30 minutes. Is very, very important for us to do that. It might not be easy at first, but when we begin to do it, it's going to become a part of us. It's going to become habit. I hope you've gained one or two things from today's episode. See you next time.